Hello and welcome. You tune into Markets at Noon with me, Ankita Saxena, and with me is Mansi Dave. In the next 1 hour, we'll take you through the construct of the market, what's shaping the markets, and how should you be playing your bets. But first up, even though we do see a recovery coming in from the day's lowest point, Mansi, but it's Asian Paints that is in focus on the back of its results, and we're now joined by the management. Right?
Absolutely. Well, the markets are volatile, but the earnings season is up and running. Asian Paints did post its numbers. The overall inline numbers said, but the management commentary was quite good. To talk more on the numbers and the forward-looking approach, we have Amit Syngle, MD and CEO Asian Paints, joining with us. Amit, thank you so much for giving your time to ET Now. It's a pleasure talking to you this afternoon. First things first, largely inline set of numbers which the company has posted in the quarter gone by, but good numbers as compared to the last quarter. Now, what led to this growth, and do you expect this momentum to continue going further?
So overall, when we look at the first quarter, the months of April and May were good, and I think the demand was definitely much better in terms of what we have seen. It was only in the month of June that with the early monsoons, we saw the demand going down because the weather conditions for the paint industry are very, very critical in terms of how we see our painting process to happen. So overall, from that point of view, April and May were definitely much better in terms of demand conditions. We saw both rural and urban centers batting well to that extent. However, in the month of June, as I said, we definitely experienced a slowdown which has happened. So overall, what we think is that some of these trends have led to give us a volume growth of almost close to about 4%. And a value degrowth has been about closer to about 0.2% in terms of what we see at a console level to that extent. So the numbers are definitely much better, and we think that as we kind of go ahead, we should kind of continue in the same way.
Right. Mr. Syngle, the company has registered a good volume growth, but it's a single-digit 4% in this quarter. When do you see your volume growth to pick up and be in the double-digit?
See, as we look at the current quarter which is going on, we feel it is something which is auguring well from a point of view of demand. We've had good monsoons, which also result in good rural demand in terms of how we will see it as we kind of go ahead. Overall, as I said, some shoots of growth we are seeing in the urban centers. Given this, we are aiming at that we should be closer to about single-digit growths in terms of as we go in this thing. We will have to see in terms of how the H2 favors us in terms of the overall demand conditions. And if things look favorable, then it is something which we will have to see how this augurs for the company as we go ahead.
Absolutely, Mr. Syngle, demand is the word you picked, and taking it right from there. Now, could you share some color on the demand front? And when we talk demand, particularly for your business, it's both urban as well as rural. How has July shaped up so far? Also, with the festive season arriving earlier this year, what does the sentiment look like?
So when we look at the overall demand, the industrial segment has done quite well, whether it is auto or whether it is protective paints. They have performed quite well, and they have been doing for the last about 2 quarters. And we can see that the trend of industrial doing well is something which is going to continue. We've also seen the projects institutional segment outpacing the retail segment in terms of the way it has grown. And given the fact that today government is spending a good amount of money on infrastructure, I think government is a very, very strong sector in terms of the institutional sales, which is kind of coming up for us. And that is something which is really propping up the demand in terms of the way it is going. As far as retail is concerned, we see some centers across the country which are a little bit slow. And given the fact that today we are into monsoons, some of the northwest east regions are slightly affected because of the higher monsoons which are happening. As we go ahead, I think some of these demand conditions would kind of really better out as we see some shoots happening both in the urban centers as well as the rural centers. So overall, given this, we feel that industrial paints, institutional sales would definitely be very, very good, and some shoots of retail will also pick up as we go ahead.
Right. Also recently, Mr. Syngle, a big acquisition happened in the paint industry. That's JSW Paint that acquired AkzoNobel. How are you looking into this, and how will this affect you and the overall industry, and what will be your strategy to protect your market share?
So overall, as we see, I think there is consolidation which is happening in the paint industry, and we have seen this acquisition of JSW by for of Axo. We feel that this will possibly look at consolidating even the whole segment of industrial and institutions in terms of the way it will go forward. It will give obviously some good competition which will start to happen in terms of some of the premium categories as well in terms of we go forward. However, I think as Asian Paints, we are really committed to the fact that we are committed to innovation, differentiation, looking at very, very strong ways in terms of how we look at very different areas to propel our growth. We are also concentrating in terms of looking at upping our marketing spends from a point of view of brand sales and how we are able to communicate to the ultimate consumer in terms of going forward. So we feel that competition has always been there. Competition will remain as we kind of go forward, but we will charter our own growth strategy as we kind of go ahead.
Absolutely, Mr. Singhal. Also, there was a situation where the company was in news flows on the back of a few concerns. How do you respond to the CCI's directive for a probe into alleged abuse of market dominance? And what steps is the company taking to ensure compliance with competition laws going forward?
So, as a responsible organization, we have always complied with all the rules and regulations of the land, and we continue to do so very strongly. We have a very strong code of conduct, and we have a very clear competition strategy in terms of the way we kind of conduct ourselves in the market. Asian Paints has always held the highest standards in terms of discipline, trust, and the way we kind of really look at our entire network, our stakeholders in terms of going forward. We've always kind of respected the space in terms of the partnership, and that is something which we are committed to. So we see that these things uh, happen, and we have had earlier also complaints coming which we have been absolved from in terms of looking, and I think we are very clear that the way we are kind of progressing in the market, the way we conduct ourselves is absolutely above board, and we continue to kind of really go ahead and really keep on looking at a very, very strong way of working which binds us to the stakeholders in a very strong manner.
Right. Mr. Singhal, also the anti-dumping duty imposed on the imports of titanium dioxide from China. What could be the potential impact on overall cost structure for you?
So I think it is still early days in terms of what we are seeing in terms of the impact because most of the companies would have carried a certain inventory in terms of the raw material which is there to that extent. But as we see it, the impact of anti-dumping duty will start coming in the latter half of this quarter and in the next quarter fully in terms of the overall impact. But also what we are seeing is that there is a certain deflation which is happening in the environment. Overall, crude derivatives are definitely looking much better from a point of view of the raw materials which are dependent on that. We are also looking at a stability coming a little bit in terms of the rupee dollar parity to that extent. So given a spate of things in terms of what's are happening, we will have to look at in terms of what impact the ADD has really on the raw materials, given the fact that there is a certain deflationary environment which we are seeing from a point of view of raw materials. But at the same time, I think we will have to look at very critically how this thing shapes up as we get into the other quarter.
Absolutely, Mr. Singhal. Right from the start of the year 2025, we have seen the company boosting capex for different geographies altogether, be it the Gujarat facility or the Dahej manufacturing plan. Now, what will be the capex for FY26 and how much company has spent in quarter 1?
So overall, we have looked at about almost about a 700 crores investment this year, largely from a point of view of our, cost-effective, cost excellence projects in terms of where we are looking at. We have spent about close to about 100 crores in the first quarter. However, we have strong backward integration initiatives which are going on, which are huge investments which we have put in. We have a 3,000 crore plus plant coming in Dahej for the VAM BAE. We have a cement plant which is coming in Dubai, which is about a 550 crores investment. I think some of these investments are ongoing other than the capex for this year.
Absolutely. Mr. Single, thank you so much for joining with ET Now, giving your views on the quarterly numbers, and best wishes to you and the company for the quarters ahead. So that was Asian Paints after the quarterly earnings. Now, it was an inline set of numbers, but the management commentary was quite strong. They expect the current growth momentum to continue further, where rural demand is picking up due to good monsoon, and at the same time, the industrial segment also did perform well in the quarter. Asian Paints, after the numbers also, it did see a good upsurge in the yesterday's session, around 2% up, along with the numbers on the back of the good commentary. And today also we see a 0.5% gain on Asian Paints at 2414 levels. But take a look